I have always been intrigued by the workings and complexities of the present perfect tense. Because foreign speakers of English find it difficult, I find teaching it a challenge I enjoy overcoming. For this powerful learning experience, I used two different students from different backgrounds. The present perfect tense is difficult in general for native speakers of Arabic, because this tense does not exist in the Arabic language. I also know from experience that Persian speakers also have difficulty with this tense. The first student has only been speaking English for the past 6 years. He is currently preparing for his IGCSE exams in an international school and uses English to communicate with his classmates, but he uses Persian at home with his family. The second student has been speaking English his whole life. He is an American of Lebanese origin and uses English in his everyday life. He speaks Arabic quite well too. I begin by showing each of the students a 90-second interactive film about the spread of religions. I do this to get the students to recall the past simple. After they have watched the film for a couple of times, I have each of the students make sentences using the specific dates mentioned, and I question them to uncover the use of the past simple with definite time.
So when you have definite time in the past, what do you use?
Past tense.
What tense did you use in all of these?
Past.
Why?
Because it's talking about the past.
And when we have that, what tense do we use?
The past simple.
Once I'm sure that the students know how to use the past simple tense, I lead them to the definition of the present perfect tense, using cognitive constructivism to help build on their previous understanding and relate the new learning experience. I give them a short exercise in which they have to fill in the blanks with verbs in either the past simple or the present perfect. What's the basic difference between the present perfect and the past simple?
Time, like when it happened.
So if we want to know when, which tense do we use?
Present perfect would be indefinite time, and past simple would be specific time.
We use simple past tense when we have a definite time, when we have a definite past. We use the perfect present tense when there is a definite date.
Although I'm aware that neither of the boys has been formally introduced to the present perfect tense, they do the exercise with minimal errors. In fact, each boy makes just one mistake, different mistakes. The next step is to find out how well the boys understand what is happening, and to help them understand when they are to use the present perfect tense. They are given different follow-up tasks to reinforce the learning. Their correct answers are reinforced either verbally or in writing. When they finish their third task, their understanding is verbally assessed to sum up the learning experience. For the third task, Kusha is given 3 online exercises. He builds on his newly acquired understanding of the basic use of the present perfect and is introduced to 2 more uses. He enjoys the exercises. He likes using the internet and constantly surfs for information and ideas, and this is why I chose the internet exercises for him. I also felt he would need more practice than Michael, and so I had him do exercises in which he repeatedly used the present perfect. With a bit of scaffolding, Kusha reaches his own conclusions about the uses of the present perfect.
We use simple past tense when we have a definite time, when we have a definite past. We use the perfect present tense when there isn't a definite date.
Michael is given a stair to work on. He works quietly and finishes in no time, and I can tell by the discreet smile he wears that he's enjoyed it, even though he criticizes that the stair was obviously made for younger students. I agree that when I designed the stair, I had in mind foreign speakers of English in grade 10. Both boys reached the same conclusions about the past simple and present perfect, and they were both able to identify the uses of these tenses.
Jack has been my friend for over 20 years, and over 20 years is a period of time. He has seen the doctor several times about his knee, so he has done an action. He has repeated something over and over.
What are the 3 uses of the present perfect tense?
A period of time, repetition, and an action that happened at an indefinite time in the past.
The main differences were in how they got to the conclusion, what mistakes they made, and what they thought of the lesson. having not received formal grammar education, their knowledge of the tenses came from use and exposure. Have you ever taken the present perfect?
I don't remember taking it.
Do you use your present perfect in everyday language?
Yes.
They probably use the present perfect correctly in their work and in their everyday discourse and conversation. But the why of this use was not apparent, and they seemed aware that they were getting it right through constant use. Michael made a mistake and used the past simple instead of the present perfect. But as soon as he finished the stare, he immediately corrected it. It is as if, in his everyday discourse with his friends, he sometimes opts for the simpler use of the tenses. I've noticed many North American speakers use the past simple instead of the present perfect in their everyday language. Kusha confused have and has in the second exercise. But once we corrected and discussed the difference, he repeated that the third person uses has in a subsequent discussion. I noticed that Michael did not make reference to the difference between have and has. He has used English his whole life and knows the concept of the third person singular. When I chose to teach the present perfect tense, I wondered if Michael's knowledge of Arabic would interfere or affect his learning or understanding of the tense. It didn't. He used the past simple with definite time in the past and did not use the present perfect with definite time. However, he used the past simple instead of the present perfect. Kusha, being weaker in English than Michael, took longer on his tasks, thinking out loud and taking his time. My lesson with Michael took around 30 minutes, while I was with Kusha for a good hour. Although Kusha's spoken English is pretty good, it is evident that his formal grammar education did not go beyond the basics. He was amused by the fact that certain expressions like have, has, had exist. I also told him that had existed, to which he immediately responded, "But that's not the present perfect." Looks like he understood the structure of the tense well. Finally, when I asked Kusha what he thought of the present perfect, he said it was interesting and different. But he also added he liked how teachers helped students to understand and learn new things by asking them questions. Perhaps this has to do with his coming from Iran, and education there being quite traditional and strict. He appreciates teachers who guide students and not those who preach. As for Michael, he preferred the stare to classroom discussions, because as he says, they make him think. His having been through an American education probably instilled in him a certain independence and self-reliance that we do not find in Kusha, who enjoyed having a teacher guide him to the right answers. In conclusion, it would seem that what we bring into a learning experience, our cultural background, our experiences and understanding, as well as our likes and dislikes, truly affect what and how we learn.